I'm reading my audiobook right now for Simon & Schuster.
Yeah.
And I'm quite conscious that it might be better to have it read by AI. That I know that because when I went out to see NVIDIA many times ago, Jensen Huang showed me giving the monologue, and you couldn't tell that it wasn't me. I mean,
really?
You just
so we
couldn't
could
tell.
recreate your voice?
Yeah, recreate my voice perfectly.
Right.
Including, he said, listen, it was hard to get the lilt because of Philadelphia at the end of a sentence, but it was not, you could not
It's getting closer and closer. By the way, recreating your image, recreating your voice, and then the question, of course, for bad actors, what will that mean? What will that do? It's not hard to imagine somebody basically creating videos of you.
I know.
Saying certain things that you never said, but in order to get a benefit of some kind. I mean, these are huge potential issues. They're coming so fast, and it's not clear to me that we're capable of responding to them given how quickly things are moving.
No, we're not, because look, I have Matthew Prince on tonight from Cloudflare.
Yeah.
They are the last bastion in terms of trying to make it so that Google doesn't sweep your stuff and then put it into Gemini. Because they've been taking a lot of everybody. And they used to, remember, as you were telling me the other day, the way you worked in the internet, and I did this at the street, is that you get the referrals from Google. It's kind of a bargain, which is that they call you up and then they send it to you. A number of send-throughs, so to speak, is down.
SEO, search engine optimization. Doesn't work
I don't know what these websites are doing.
There's no more clickbait. Where they're dying is what they're doing.
Yes, exactly.
It's crushing
they are dying.
them. It is crushing them.
It is
because now you go and you get AI, even if it's Gemini from Google, and it gives you the answer, and so you don't need to click through to anything.
No, you're exactly right, and I think it is devastating. Devastating to people. And I don't think people realize it.
Well, we are seeing a response today. Again, NVIDIA shares are up over 1%. AMD, we've got some general strength across technology after significant weakness on Friday. Nothing here we're saying, of course, diminishes the thesis that more NVIDIA GPUs are going to be in demand.
But let's talk about a position that I have in my trust that is very worrisome, which is Amazon.
Which is what? Sorry?
Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon, people feel, is not spending enough or spending on its own chips that it's becoming. Hey, look, Ben Rice has a good piece today. A share donor to the other companies, to a Microsoft, to an Alphabet. I mean, look at that. That stock's down. That stock was up 2.5 at 4 a.m.
You mean before, after earnings that day?
No.
Or this morning?
This morning.
Oh, sorry.
What were you doing?
What was I doing? I was sleeping. What do you expect I was doing? Like almost everybody else, I was sleeping.
Yeah, you want to get ahead of me. You got to set the alarm a little earlier,
I don't want to get ahead of you.
No, okay.
No, I have no interest.
But anyway, I mean, look at this. The stock is down. It had a terrible quarter.
Terrible quarter
for
now?
AWS. For
Terrible?
AWS.
Well, you changed your tune a little bit.
I thought it was good. No,
you did not say it was a terrible quarter.
I liked it. But
now it's terrible?
Go look up Brian Nowak, the question that he asked, which is that, look, I got to understand this. And then Andy Jassy did not answer the question the way
You pointed that out.
The weekend reviews are in, and my view that it was okay is being shouted down by everybody.
So you're changing your view.
No, I'm concerned. I expressed concern that Amazon's not spending enough.
How could they not be spending enough?
Because they're not spending anywhere near what Microsoft's spending, that Alphabet, Meta. They're doing internal. They're saying
we should explain to people, AWS, which is responsible for over half the operating income at the company, came in at a growth rate of 17.5%.
Exactly.
Then the guidance was a bit worrisome as well, whereas Azure, obviously, I think was up some 39%.
Well,
but much smaller base. AWS is far large.
Amazon will tell you that. And look, Amazon's a huge position. I think Amazon, when it sorts out, I think everything will be fine. I just didn't want to hear that. I just think their chip's just not as good as NVIDIA.
Yeah.
But the numbers were not great, and that's why the stock. I'm answering the question: why is the stock down?
Okay.
And there's a rebound, and that's because this amen chorus that Amazon didn't spend enough. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Interesting.
Stacy, first big picture. What have we learned so far in the group from this earnings season? Obviously, NVIDIA is yet to come, but whether it's the durability of the AI data center bid or also the fortunes of the non-data center segment.
Yeah, we still have this bifurcation, which frankly has been going on for a while. The AI names look to be doing really well. The spending intentions, the CapEx, everything has been going up. Everything else in semis has frankly been kind of lackluster, right? I mean, and then there's been concerns, even where we have seen some strength, that maybe it could be pull forward in front of tariffs or anything else. And we've heard that dreaded P word, on a number of calls, frankly, and whenever we hear it, people tend to get a little nervous. PCs, like end demand for PCs has been relatively strong, but again, I think that pull forward is very real there. I think within the analogs, the auto and the industrial, like a lot of them are at least calling for a cyclical bottom and maybe for a return to growth and a recovery, but at the same time, you worry, like, is it sustainable? Is it anything more than just inventory filling? And again, is it being driven maybe by pre-purchases in front of tariffs? There's a lot of uncertainty out there. The AI, like, spending at least seems to be a little more certain at this point.
And when it comes to AMD, I mean, obviously most of the chip companies that can have tried to sort of recast themselves as those with leverage to the AI spending trend. I know it's had a great run in the stock, and maybe you think it's overdone since you're sort of at a hold on it. But what's the setup there? Yeah,
and again, I always cautious by saying, like, I tend to miss AMD on the upside anyways. It's not uncommon for me. The stock has been very strong. I kind of get it. I mean, again, they are levered in some sense to the AI trade. They do have products. There's some demand. Supposedly they're getting their China licenses back. Supposedly, if they do, that may drive some upside in the near term. And as I've said, you can kind of dream on AMD right now. Like, the real story for AMD's AI is actually next year. It's the MI450. That's their first rack scale offering. It's the first one that, at least on paper, gets them more competitive with NVIDIA. And it doesn't come for over a year. So, like, right now, it can be as big as you want. I'm starting to hear from investors some fairly, elevated expectations for AMD's AI trajectory into next year and the year beyond. And so we'll see if they can, support that or not once we get there. But, right now you've got time to sort of dream about it. And in the near term, I mean, like I said, they get some upside maybe from China. PCs look okay. They're still taking tons of share across, like, servers and things from AMD, from Intel, which helps to support. So I kind of get it. At the same time, though, I would say expectations, I think, just given the stock performance and, some of our conversations, expectations have risen quite a bit. Like, they better do pretty well, like, when they report tomorrow.
If those dreams were to come true about AMD next year, does it come at the expense of NVIDIA or Broadcom, or just, are the numbers not big enough for that to happen? Because those stocks don't look like they're positioned for it.
The numbers probably aren't big enough. And frankly, that's also part of the AMD bull case, right? Is like AMD doesn't have to do $200 billion of AI revenue. Like, the bull case is something like, Lisa said it's a $500 billion TAM, and if they just get 5%,
right,
which would be $25 billion, I mean, that's enough. And for NVIDIA, that clearly wouldn't be nearly enough. But for AMD, that would probably be fine.
Right.
Every $1 billion of AI revenue for them is roughly 25 cents in earnings. So you could get high earnings power if you think that they have line of sight to something like that. And frankly, right now, I don't think the AI market is mature or saturated. And again, the idea that there's enough to go around, it's not an implausible kind of thing to believe right now.
Yeah, considering NVIDIA revenue for next fiscal year is pegged at $250 billion.
Yeah.
So that's a big number. Stacy, thank you.
AMD, now they report tomorrow after the bell. I take it that report will be all about data centers?
Yeah, it's really not just data centers. It's going to be all about their AI chips that compete with NVIDIA. Now, this is one of those where I say AMD doesn't have to take market share from NVIDIA to win. It just needs to maintain market share. We see AMD being able to reach 40 billion plus in revenue for their AI chips by the end of the decade, all the while taking no market share. So if they can show with their GPU product, their AI product, that they can take even a little market share from NVIDIA, it has huge upside. But we've seen tons of upward revisions from analysts. People are expecting a big result and a big beat. So we need Lisa Su, who's more conservative than Alex Karp, to come out and really tell the story that, hey, AMD is winning these AI chip, this AI chip race, and is meaningfully going to be able to keep the market share.
Good stuff. Daniel Newman, thanks so much indeed.
By the way, calls today, NVIDIA buy at Citi and B of A. That's reiterated at both places. Apple gets reiterated buy at B of A, and Amazon reiterated outperform at Evercore. It goes to the overall point that Bryn started by suggesting that, well, when in doubt, go where the money's going and continue to put it here, because everything else is too difficult in that kind of environment.
We've been looking for this CapEx inflection, and it's right in front of us, but it's being led by innovation and AI. That's where not only are the companies that are benefiting from that spending are doing well, but the companies that are making those investments from a CapEx perspective are also, currying some favor, if you will, with investors. If you're looking at where can I commit capital to in this environment and where can I potentially see an opportunity, it has to be AI or innovation adjacent, Scott, because the other thing that people are really worrying about is productivity enhancement and margins. So I think at the end of the day, this is why you're getting the enthusiasm, but not only within the AI sector, but I also think for for companies that are investing in those areas.
Elsewhere,
there's another interesting piece that was out this morning talking about the boom of AI, and it's the Journal again. AI's overlooked $97 billion contribution to the economy. And if you're going to look at different sectors, which I know that you do, whether it's consumer, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's defense, that all of these AI super centers that are going to be built across this nation soon are going to be really the engine that powers the next big win for the United States of America, really, for our economy, for a decade at least.
I'll put almost a broader spin on it. There are some brand new disruptive companies that are making money from AI, and there are some well-established companies that are making money from AI. And that's a very robust mix, because that wasn't true in the late 90s. It was only new disruptors leaving everybody else behind. A very broad group of companies seem to be benefiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, certainly, that as we've got NVIDIA coming at the end of the month, but especially when you saw there's been some AI winners and losers, certainly. But NVIDIA, I think, is the one that everybody's going to be watching, Simeon. So
I wouldn't short it. No way.
This result and this announcement around government AI makes me want to buy chips. I mean, this is part of that sovereign AI story that really is what resuscitated NVIDIA as a stock. So I think this is a great announcement for the entire semiconductor space, but specifically for mass compute.
All right,
I'm hearing that Amazon may be market share donor to Microsoft and Alphabet in cloud computing, and they might stay that way until they stop trying to make do with their own chips and instead buy more, yes, of the ones from NVIDIA. I'm not sure this is a totally true narrative, because I think AWS did fine, but I do hear about the resistance from young AI developers who are reluctant to use Amazon's platform to develop their own products. I hope management comes on right here and explains more about this issue. Otherwise, I fear that this is an important position for my Chapel Trust is going to keep getting smoked. Help us, Amazon. I know, I'm greedy. Finally, there is NVIDIA. We don't know how it's doing. It reports on a different cycle, with its next report coming later this month. But we do know this. When you hear that Amazon's not doing well enough because it didn't order enough chips from NVIDIA, like all the other hyperscalers, well, guess who's really the winner? NVIDIA. Here's the bottom line. Even though the Mag 7 has one hand tied behind its back with Tesla, we had tepid reactions to Apple and Amazon's numbers. The fact is, these companies loaded with cash, not outrageously expensive, nation states, I call them, with multiple revenue streams and tight expenses, just can't be beat by any stretch of the numbers or the imagination.
All right, I hope you're all doing great today. NVIDIA finished the day about 3.6% higher. I want to cover 4 things in this video. I want to quickly revisit a story that broke this past Friday. Then I want to talk about the oncoming surge of compute demand fueled by AI agents. Third, I'll briefly talk about NVIDIA versus AMD. And I'll finish the video by sharing some thoughts about NVIDIA's long-term future. So last Friday, Reuters reported that there's a very large backlog of export licenses waiting for approval at the Commerce Department, including licenses for NVIDIA's H20 chips to China. NVIDIA's fiscal second quarter has ended, and as far as we are aware, the U.S. has not approved licenses for NVIDIA's H20 to be sold in China. And so I think we need to be prepared for there being no China revenue in NVIDIA's upcoming earnings report later this month. Perhaps some China revenue could show up in NVIDIA's forward-looking guidance, but that remains to be seen. I continue to be bullish on NVIDIA long-term regardless of the China export situation. I consider NVIDIA's China revenue as additional upside to what is already a solid long-term setup. And NVIDIA is growing even without China revenue as demand is so strong. Speaking of strong demand, we have some exciting developments on the horizon. OpenAI's Altman posted on on X this past weekend, saying they have a ton of stuff to launch over the next couple of months and asking everyone to be prepared for some possible hiccups and capacity crunches. In other words, he's saying they will most likely be needing more hardware from NVIDIA in the near future. I've said repeatedly in recent videos that I think we are about to see a massive surge in AI compute demand as AI agents are just starting to be rolled out to the general public. I expect this surge in demand to extend well into 2026. This is a big deal, and it is very positive for NVIDIA. For those who don't know, AI agents are essentially AI models that complete tasks on your behalf. Instead of just giving you an answer to your queries, the agents will actually do things for you. You could have an agent order food, book a flight, reserve a hotel room, complete tasks, and so on. These agents are really just starting to be released to the mainstream general public, and I think this will cause another massive surge in compute demand similar to what we saw with the introduction of advanced reasoning models and inference. And now couple that upcoming surge of compute demand with the setup for NVIDIA heading into the second half of this year, and I think we have a very nice situation on our hands. I expect NVIDIA to report very strong Q3 and Q4 results given the swift production ramp of Blackwell and the launch of Blackwell Ultra. Keep in mind that NVIDIA will be reporting results for fiscal Q2 later this month. I do expect NVIDIA to report great numbers this month, and I'm especially looking for NVIDIA to have a strong Q3 and Q4, as I said. With all of the hyperscalers raising their CapEx guidance this earnings season, and some of them saying they expect strong 2026 CapEx, many market participants are finally starting to realize that 2026 should be another growth year for NVIDIA, something we've been saying on this channel for many months now. As long as nothing massively unexpected happens, I'm expecting 2026 to be a nice year for NVIDIA, as we should have a convergence of multiple factors, multiple production ramps, a surge in compute demand from AI agents, and more U.S. manufacturing capacity coming online, which will increase production while also helping to de-risk the supply chain. The one concern I have when it comes to NVIDIA stock in the short term is the potential announcement of the semiconductor tariffs. Please hear me well. If semiconductor tariffs are announced and NVIDIA stock trades lower on the news, do not panic. I would expect such an event to just be a short-term negative reaction that has no material impact on NVIDIA's long-term future. NVIDIA has been working with partners like TSMC, Foxconn, and others to aggressively onshore manufacturing to the U.S., and I would also expect there to be a grace period before any semiconductor tariffs go into effect, similar to what the president has promised pharmaceutical companies regarding a grace period before those tariffs go into effect. As for AMD, I'm bullish on the company long-term, and I seriously think there is plenty of room in this market for NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom, and others to all succeed as demand is so strong. That being said, it's important to remember that even if AMD has a GPU that's competitive with NVIDIA's Blackwell GPU, NVIDIA takes a holistic system approach, innovating across the entire stack, both hardware and software. This means that even if another company develops a faster GPU than NVIDIA's, it doesn't really concern NVIDIA, as that is just one component of the system, and NVIDIA sells the entire system. Next year, we're expecting the launch of AMD's first full rack system containing 72 GPUs in an attempt to compete with NVIDIA's full stack offerings. But even then, a key challenge for AMD will be NVIDIA's moat around software. CUDA is massively beneficial to NVIDIA. If developers build on CUDA, they want to remain on CUDA, and that helps NVIDIA keep customers within their ecosystem. Again, I'm bullish on AMD long-term, and I think there's plenty of room for both companies to succeed in this market. NVIDIA continues launching new data center products each year. Next year, in 2026, we're expecting the launch of NVIDIA's Vera Rubin. The Vera CPU will be NVIDIA's first custom CPU, containing 88 NVIDIA Olympus cores custom designed to work in tandem with NVIDIA GPUs. And later on in 2027, with Rubin Ultra, a single Kyber rack should be able to hold 576 GPU dies, for times as many as the current Blackwell systems. Jensen believes the world's computing capex will reach $1 trillion annually by 2030, and combine all of this with what I mentioned earlier about the oncoming wave of compute demand fueled by AI agents. And I think it's clear that 2026 is shaping up to be a very positive year for NVIDIA, as long as nothing massively unexpected happens. I continue to be bullish on NVIDIA long-term, and I think we're still in the very early days of AI. Demand continues to surge. New use cases continue to be developed. I think a surge in demand is approaching in the near future as a result of the general public being introduced to agentic AI, and we have a clear data center product roadmap stretching all the way into 2028. I seriously think that NVIDIA will be worth more in future years than it is today. At least that's my view of the situation. Remember to stay calm in this market. Remember to maintain a long-term perspective, and do not make any hasty or irrational decisions. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.